In the Heart of the Sea tells the unbelievable true story of the sinking of the Essex whaling ship in 1821. The movie follows the crew of the ship as they attempt to survive at sea in small whaleboats and the horrifying choices they have to make in those months. In the Heart of the Sea's cast is led by the A-list stars Chris Hemsworth, Cillian Murphy, Tom Holland, and Benjamin Walker, who each give great performances as real historical figures. When it was first released in 2015, the film received modest reviews, but In the Heart of the Sea has found success since streaming on Netflix. In the Heart of the Sea's ending helps provide context for what happened to the men who survived after they returned home, but as is often necessary for movies to achieve a certain runtime or rating, parts of the story get left out. While the movie does a good job of recreating many of the biggest points from the true story, In the Heart of the Sea leaves out certain details that actually make the story even more shocking. 8. Herman Melville's inspiration came from Owen Chase's book. The film shows Melville talking to Thomas Nickerson instead. In the Heart of the Sea's narrative surrounds Herman Melville approaching Thomas Nickerson as an old man, played by Brendan Gleeson, and paying him to tell the story of his time on the Essex and the events of the ship's sinking. This serves to connect the Essex and its whale directly as the inspiration for Melville's classic novel Moby Dick. While it is true that the events portrayed in the Heart of the Sea were part of the inspiration for Moby Dick, in reality, Herman Melville's inspiration came from Owen Chase's book rather than Thomas Nickerson's. While Owen Chase wrote and published his account only a few months after returning home to Nantucket, Nickerson's book actually came out much later than Chase's and after the publication of Moby Dick. Moby Dick was published in 1851, and Nickerson's account was not found until 1960 and published in 1984. However, In the Heart of the Sea was based on the book In the Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Essex Whale Ship by Nathaniel Philbrick, which did take inspiration from Nickerson's account. Both Captain George Pollard Jr. and First Mate Owen Chase had sailed on the Essex before. The ship was considered lucky. The movie depicts the two as being enemies at the beginning of the film, as Chase had been promised to be captain. In reality, they both would have been on the Essex together at the same time, from 1817 to 1819, when George Pollard had sailed as first mate and Owen Chase as a crew member. Along with having sailed together before on the Essex, the ship itself was considered lucky because of the success the crew had had on previous whaling expeditions, via Nantucket Historical Association. Additionally, though the movie presents the damage done in the storm as being the consequence of Pollard and Chase's disagreement, specifically Chase's opinion that Pollard was unqualified, in real life they would have known of each other's experience. Likewise, Owen Chase was a Nantucket native, despite the movie's portrayal of him being a foreigner to the sea. While this portrayal helps add tension to the beginning of In the Heart of the Sea, leaving out the details of them knowing each other does lose some important context for the prior work experience and the relationship between the two men. The Essex lost 2 whaleboats in a storm in the Gulf Stream. Pollard considered turning around but ultimately kept sailing. Chris Hemsworth, In the Heart of the Sea movie, Ron Howard. In the Heart of the Sea features a crucial scene in which Pollard and Chase disagree about the best course of action while sailing near a storm, with Pollard ultimately saying that they should continue sailing through it, leading to the Essex being damaged. While the crew was able to get the ship repaired once they reached the Azores as was shown in the Heart of the Sea, the movie leaves out that they had lost 2 of their small whaleboats in the storm and damaged a third. Despite the crew's purchase of a new whaleboat during their stop, they were still down 1 and with 1 damaged. The movie shows the storm and their stop afterward to get supplies, but In the Heart of the Sea glosses over the loss of the whaleboats, which could have been helpful in their survival. The whaleboats could have been useful in carrying further supplies salvaged from the sinking ship, or the wood itself could have been helpful in making repairs. Leaving out the significance of this detail helps simplify the movie's narrative slightly. However, the loss of something that could have helped the Essex's crew survive is reminiscent of the Titanic's catastrophic lack of enough lifeboats. While the Essex sank, the crew spent 2 days salvaging materials including navigational equipment. The process was much longer than the movie shows. In the Heart of the Sea shows the crew rapidly abandoning the Essex as it sinks immediately following the white whale's attack, but in real life, the crew spent 2 days salvaging materials from the sinking ship. This depiction, while helpful for the movie format, leaves out the materials that the crew were able to salvage to help them as they floated at sea in the small whaleboats. One of the biggest advantages that this gave them over what was shown in the film was that they were able to save 2 sets of navigational equipment. This meant that both Pollard and Chase actually had a way to see where they were going.